today with just a simple eyeshadow video, and this was requested by my best friend. Hi, best friend. Now, I'm not an expert, so I'm just showing you guys an easy way that I do it. If you're interested, just keep watching. So the first thing that you need to do is make sure that your eyelids are very well moisturized, because if you don't have moisturizer on your eyelids, you're gonna keep adding eyeshadow to your eyelids and they're gonna get all dry. And from personal experience, if I have dry skin and I'm adding powder, then it gets all wrinkly and dry looking. So just make sure to really moisturize this whole area right here. Personally, I use the Estee Lauder Day Wear, only because I ran out of eye cream, so I've been using my day moisturizer. Now first we're gonna start with eyeshadow primer, and I use the Morphe eyeshadow primer. I've used the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer, the purple one, and I don't like it because I don't know why it seems to dry out my eyelids and it gets really gross when I put the eyeshadow on. I don't know why. I can't work with the eyeshadow primer from Urban Decay. I don't understand why. But anyway, so what I do is I add it on only to this little area right here. I don't add it everywhere because if I add it to my inner corner, somehow my inner corner is a little drier. I have no idea why. So when I add eyeshadow primer here, my eyeshadow clings and it looks kind of weird. So I only add it to this little area right here because my eye gets a little bit oily. So if you have oily eyelids, then just add a little bit of eye primer right here on this end. The next thing that I do is I add concealer to this whole area, kind of like canvas when you paint. If I don't add anything here and I just add the eyeshadow, somehow it ends up looking different. The one I'm using is the Colourpop No Filter, and it's literally like, I think like $5, I believe, at Ulta. I've used my Born This Way concealer on my eyelids and I don't know why, I think it's too thick. So when I add it to my eyelids, I don't know, it's too thick, so I can't work with it. So I add a little bit here, add a little bit here. I know I'm saying a little bit, but it's a lot. I got this little brush from Morphe. And if you go to Ulta, if you don't know, if you go to Ulta, the Morphe brushes, they're pretty cheap. So I have this one that I only use for concealer. So I just blend in the concealer and I just kind of tap it on. I don't like rub it on. So if you kind of tap it, it kind of just blends in. I get powder and I set that concealer. So the one I use is Airspun, and that's the only powder that's worked for me. If I add any other type of powder, I don't know why, it always makes my skin look really dry. So I'm just adding a little bit of powder just to set that concealer. Now, if you add the powder on top of the concealer, it's gonna make it easier to blend the eyeshadow. If you just put eyeshadow on top of the concealer, it's gonna just stick to it and then you can't blend it in. And like I said, you have to find like a moisturizing concealer, like one that's blendable. If it's too thick, it's gonna make the eyeshadow not blend well. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to start with eyeshadow on the lid. That's the way I start. So I always start with the lid and then add a little bit of eyeshadow under the eyebrow. So today I'm going to be using the Colourpop Yes Please eyeshadow palette. And it's kind of dirty because every time I'm doing my makeup, I'm always touching it and it gets dirty. So first, I'm going to highlight under my eyebrow, and I'm going to use this color right, and I'm going to use this brush. I have no idea where I got it, but I've had it for a few years now. So I'm going to just lightly add a little bit of, so I'm just gonna lightly add a little bit of highlight under my eyebrow. Not a lot, just enough to where when I add my eyeshadow, I can blend it all in together. I was gonna go with simple eyeshadow, but I think I'm gonna end up using this gold shade right here. I was gonna use this for my eyelid, but I think I'm gonna do this. So first, I'm going to use my finger because I feel like it adds more deposit into the eyelid. So I'm gonna use the same eyeshadow brush, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to make sure that I get it perfectly on the lid right here. So first I'm gonna start right here with the inner corner, and I'm gonna bring it up. If you have small eyelids, what you do is you bring it up as high as you can. You know, my eyelid, it stops right here, but since I have small eyelids, I'm going to bring it up to here, and it'll make your eyes pop a little more. I have my friend, she has really tiny eyelids, so when I did her makeup, I brought it up a lot up, or I brought up the inner corner, I brought it up higher, and it made her eyes a little wider. So if you're a beginner and you don't know this, if you have small eyes, what you can do is just add the light colors in the inner corner and bring it up high. And then when you do the dark shadows, only keep it on this end. Because the dark shadow, what you're doing is kind of like you're contouring your eye. So if you do dark shadow, it's kind of like you're pushing back this area. So if you do it all the way over here, like if you do eyeshadow, like dark shadow here, it kind of makes it look smaller. I feel like, you know, that's what happens with my eyes. I'm just talking here, I'm no expert. I'm just talking from my personal experience. So next, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some powder right here. I haven't set my concealer right now. So what I'm gonna do is add some powder right here, so that way when I do my eyeshadow and it falls on, I could just brush it off. Now, my under eye, it gets wrinkly if I add way too much powder above. So what I do is I try to keep it right here below it. Like if I add the powder right here, it starts wrinkling up and looking dry and ugly. So I am going to just add it in this little area right here. So if you have wrinkly under eyes, when you do your concealer, only add like if you have dark circles, add the peach or orangey color right here and only tap it on a little bit and highlight this area. Don't highlight all the way up here because then it gets all wrinkly. First, I'm gonna start with this one again, Morphe brush, and you see how it looks a little bit tapered right here, and then a pointy. I'm gonna say pointy because a lot of people don't know what those makeup words are. So see how it's pointy right here? And this one is MB46. So I'm going to use this. Actually, you know what? Stop free. This is where I do things a little bit different. So I'm going to use the Stila eyeliner. And the reason I use this one is because I am very bad at liquid liner. So I need something pointy like this to do my liner. So I'm going to do my liner first before I do the rest of my shadow, because somehow if I line it, I don't know why, but it helps me kind of see where the rest of my eyeshadow is going to go right here in the middle. Okay, so I'm done with my liner. I'm going to do the other eye and I'll be right back. Okay, so I am back with my other eye. I don't know if anybody else has this problem, but I'm right-handed and I have a hard time doing my left eye. It's hard. Okay, so back with this eyeshadow brush. Okay, so I'm going to be using this color right here. It's called Note to Self, and you kind of need to use something like this in order for all your colors to blend. That's why they always add this type of color to all your eyeshadow palettes, because it's like a warm color that you can mix all your eyeshadows and they'll blend better together. I'm just sitting here talking like I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of shadow like this. And then I'm gonna tap it off just so that I don't get that extra. Okay, so what I do is, since I already have my liner on, see, now I'm just gonna start right here in the corner, and I'm going to I'm not pushing the eyeshadow brush. What I'm doing is I'm using the very tip of the brush, and I'm just going to color in a little bit. You need to be careful, like, I'm not doing this. I am only adding a little bit, and I'm looking in my mirror right here. So I'm kind of doing this. So I'm trying to stay above where I added that gold, and I'm just going to stop right here in the middle. I'm not going to bring it all the way here right now. First, I'm going to start right here in the middle. Okay, and I stopped. It's right there, right? So next, I'm going to use this one. I think I got this one from Morphe too. It's like a little blending brush like this. So I'm going to use that, and it has nothing on it. I know it looks like it does, but it really doesn't. So I'm going to do, and I'm only holding it lightly. See, I'm holding it very lightly. And I'm just blending that little area. You see where it stops right here? I'm only blending this right here very softly. So what you're gonna do is every time you add eyeshadow, you add a little bit and then you blend it. Add a little bit and then you blend it. And that's the reason you see all these people with such great eyeshadow, because they're not showing you the full extent of the eyeshadow. Like, you know, when you see these little 15-second videos on Instagram, they're not showing you that they're spending quite a lot of time sitting there blending. So they're going back and forth. So now I'm going back, blending some more. And I know it looks like I'm doing it rough, but I'm not. I'm only doing it softly. Okay, and now I'm going to come up a little bit more here. I'm trying to raise my eye as much as I can because I only want the color to be right here, and it's kind of touching right here, but I'm just going to blend that. And then I'm going back to the blending brush. And I'm gonna blend like the end, you know what I mean? The end right here where I stopped the eyeshadow. You see, I don't know if you could tell on camera. All right, so now I'm gonna do the rest, or not the rest, I'm sorry. So now I'm gonna do the other eye. And again, I'm only starting right here in the corner because I know where my eyeshadows, or not my eyeshadow, I know where my eyeliner is right there. So my liner is kind of my guide. So I'm only stopping right there a little bit. You see my eyeliner is right here. I'm only starting right here, like a little bit closer this way. So, and again, I'm using my mirror to look up like this so it could help me guide. And again, to make your eyes look bigger, add the eyeshadow higher. If you add it lower, that's why your eyes look like all. And then I'm going back and I'm moving a little bit closer with whatever's left on my shadow. I don't want to put, if I go in and get the eyeshadow and then go right in, then it's gonna look dark right here and then different over here. So I'm just using whatever's left on my eyeshadow brush. And again, I'm holding it very lightly and I'm adding it very softly. I know it doesn't look like it on camera. I'm doing it kind of fast, but I'm doing it very lightly. And again, to make it look blended, you have to keep coming back and forth. Deposit the eyeshadow with one of these brushes or any type of brush that you can afford, but with the pointy part, so that way you can get into that little crease. If you have a crease, if you don't, you know, wherever you want to deposit the eyeshadow, that way you know where it's going. And then I'm going back with a blending brush. Okay, so now I'm going to use this one. Now because it's so dark, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use this little tiny one. I don't want to use the other one because it's too big, and I don't want, when I put it on, I don't want it on this area. I just want it where, you know what I mean, in the area that I want it. So this one is the Morphe M149. So I'm going to get a little bit of the shadow. And again, tapping it off. Okay, so I'm going to bring my face up. And again, I'm holding my mirror like this so that I can see that little area. So because this is a dark shadow, I'm going to barely start right here at the corner. And then I'm coming up a little bit. Okay, and you see how it is right there? Okay, so I'm gonna stop right there. So I'm gonna come back to this one. Now this one has the other color eyeshadow, the light brown one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to try to blend that. Right there where I stopped, right here where I stopped. Let me come closer. Right here where I stopped, I'm going to just kind of blend, just back and forth, okay? And I'm only staying in this little area. I don't want to bring it everywhere. And like I said, you have to keep coming back and forth. You know, in other videos, in Instagram videos, they don't show you that they're coming back and forth. They're not just adding the eyeshadow and boom, it's done. So I'm just trying to show you. And I'm just gonna come up a little bit like again, I'm only keeping it in this little area because I don't want it to look all messy. So I'm gonna come up little by little. Okay, so I don't know if you could tell on the camera. Okay, and again, I'm gonna get the brush again. And I'm gonna come up a little bit higher. But I don't want it all the way over here. I just want it right in the middle. And then I'm gonna go a little bit this way, a little bit. And a little bit up. Okay, and again, I'm gonna use the other brush again, and I'm gonna blend that. Because I used the other brown shadow, so it still has a little bit on there. So it's just blending it in together, meaning we're mixing it together. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit more of that brown shadow. Ew. So I'm gonna put a little bit more of this on my brush, a little tiny bit. Just that way I can mix it better right here. Okay, and again, look up. And I'm just adding it to this little in-between area where the dark shadow and the light brown shadow mix. I'm coming back and forth with these two brushes until I get it to where I want it. And with the dark shadow, I'm not adding any more because I don't want to add any more dark. I have enough. See how it's blended in, meaning that all these colors are mixing in together because you're blending where you ended with the other shadow. And you can even go back in with a fluffy one and then just kind of blend the top of the other shadow, the brown one. Now, if you want it darker than this, of course you can keep adding more, but I think that's as dark as I want it. And I'm gonna do the other eye real quick. Okay, so I'm done with my other eye. So the next thing is I'm going to add a little bit of shadow on the bottom just so that way it can look a little bit better. I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to use the first light brown shadow that I used first, and I'm just going to add it right at the bottom. Also, this kind of helps kind of camouflage any wrinkles you have right here. I've noticed that if you use shadow here and kind of like dark shadow here and then a little bit of brightness right here, it kind of camouflages your little wrinkles right there. If you haven't, if you don't, then you're blessed. Okay, now I'm going to use a little bit of the dark one, and with the dark shadows, you have to be very careful where you put it in, because then you end up looking like a raccoon. So when I use dark shadow, I always only use right up to the middle of my eye right here. I don't bring it all the way in. Okay, so I have another one that I got from Morphe. This is the M455. So I have one for dark shadows and then one for light shadows. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back with the gold shadow, and then I'm going to add a little bit right here, and then kind of blend it in a little bit with the other shadow. And if when you're doing your eyeshadow you kind of lost a little bit of that gold right here, you can always go in with, again, this little shadow, and then just add a little bit to brighten it up, just in case you lost a little bit when you blended the other shadow. And again, I'm bringing it up higher. So if I bring it up higher, it looks a little bit brighter here. If you have small eyes, don't just put your shadow here. Bring it up a little bit more. If you bring it up, see how it looks a little bit brighter? Well, this one looks brighter. Okay, so now I'm going to wipe off this, and I'm gonna do it gently. I'm not sitting here rubbing it off. And I'm kind of just gonna blend it a little tiny bit right there, so that way blend my wrinkles away. And I'm doing it very gently. I'm not rubbing it, because if I rub it, then it's gonna take off the makeup. Okay, and that's how you do the shadow. Okay, so that's my simple way of doing eyeshadow. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up so that way you can see the whole look. Okay, so I just got done doing my eyelashes. If you are blessed with big eyelashes, then obviously you don't need to do this step. You just do your eyeshadow and you're great. But some of us have little eyelashes, so we have to wear fake ones. So the ones that I'm using today are Ardell whispies, in case anybody wants to know. And yeah, that's about it. Okay, so I'm done doing the rest of my makeup, and this is the finished look. Alright, so if you like these type of videos where they're kind of long, but they kind of show step by step on how to do, you know, eyeshadow or makeup or whatever, then let me know in the comments. Or if you want those sped up type of makeup videos where, you know, you kind of just do it real quick and then just show the final result real quick, let me know also. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Also, check out my previous videos. I did do some storytelling videos, so you can go ahead and check those out on my channel. And yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.